Welcome to the Business with Beers podcast. This is the place where we help entrepreneurs expand their business, build their wealth, and generate passive income. I'm your host, Brian Beers, an entrepreneur who's on a mission to inspire growth from everyone around me. Remember that you need to take the actions others won't, and you can live the life that others don't. Please be sure to check out my weekly newsletter that now drops every Thursday. It includes one quote, one tweet, one podcast recommendation, plus some business and investing insight from me. It's short and it's sweet. My goal is to provide you with just a couple gold nuggets to help inspire your growth. Go to brianbeers.com to subscribe.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited today to bring you Dennis Schooley. Dennis is the founding partner of Schooley Mitchell, a B2B cost reduction franchise. Welcome to the show, Dennis.
Well, thanks for having me, Brian. Happy to be here.
Awesome. So how did you get into franchising? How did you get into Schooley Mitchell?
Well, it was more by providence than anything else, actually. We've been in business for 25 years now, so we've got a lot of experience in this world. But I'm actually a CPA. Hopefully my personality doesn't belie that. But anyway, that's my background. We're self-denigrating a lot of accountants. But anyway, I was running an accounting firm, and we were also doing some other things. I've always been a business development kind of thing. So we were doing management consulting and computer consulting and even sports consulting. And as a result, our own costs were going up. And we knew why, but we didn't really know why, if that makes sense. So we asked one of our programmers to write us some software to really help us understand why our telecom costs were going up. And when we realized what was going on, we realized that we were paying 30% more than we should. And we just thought, wow, aren't we stupid? And then we went, wait a minute here. If we're stupid, probably our 700 accounting clients are kind of stupid too. And I mean, I say that facetiously, of course, but it was really about having control over costs that were fairly confusing. The bills were purposefully confusing, and it was very difficult to understand what you should do versus what you did do. And so I had learned a lot about franchising because one of our big clients was a franchise company. And so those two things kind of came together, and Schooley Mitchell just really rose out of the dust as an idea back then. And we are what we are today, which is about 250 franchises across the US and Canada and about 130 people working in our head office here supporting those franchises. So we've grown from that dusty idea to what we are today.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so can you walk me through kind of 101, kind of the business model? Let's start with how do you save the business money? Let's talk about from like the business owner's perspective, like
Sure.
Me being a 30-unit franchise owner.
Yeah, and we look at 15 different cost categories right now, although we're going to be introducing 2 or 3 more in the next few months. We'll probably be at about 20 different cost categories in the next 6 months. And basically what it boils down to is we look at all those things below that gross margin line. I mean, we're not going to talk about the cost of steel, the cost of payroll, the main inputs into how a business operates. That's what the business person is really good at. But all those other things below that line, death by 1,000 cuts, they're all cutting into net profit. And so that's what we look at. So how do we do that? Well, we do 3 basic things. And it can be in any one of these cost categories. We make sure there are no errors in the bills. And you'd be shocked how often there are errors in those bills, and we get that money back and give it back to our client. Secondly, we make sure they're not paying for redundant services or things they didn't need or want or even realize they had. And thirdly, and maybe more important than the first 2, we make sure that the best pricing platforms are achieved by our clients. Now, the reason we can do that is because we've done 28,000 deals over time. That gives us a lot of clout. We keep that data, so we understand where those vendors can go with every different type of client that we have or could have. And so that's really the sort of the secret sauce, that 28,000. And when I say 28,000 deals, that means we've got multiple quotes in each of those deals. So our database is very big and, always maintaining best in class pricing so that we can always make sure our client has exactly that. And we also have a database of over 3,700 vendors. Now, we don't sell anything. We're completely independent, but we've built relationships with these vendors. So we know people higher up in these companies rather than just a salesperson or the customer service person. We're talking to sales managers and executives and things like that, where we're negotiating on behalf of our clients and even getting special Schooley Mitchell pricing that we know we can get for clients. So that was a long-winded kind of that's how it works sort of thing, Brian.
You guys are like
the one key thing here is we don't charge money to do what we do. We just share in the savings. So that's a significant value to the business.
So you guys are like the center point of negotiation, right? So you're kind of the center point of data. You understand like how low waste management can go in whatever the Northeast on trash or whatever it is, right?
And for a manufacturing company versus a wholesaler versus something else. Yes, that's exactly what we know, and that's what we bring to the table.
Yep, is kind of that knowledge and that data. And is that, you mentioned you have 130 support people. Is that a lot of what those support people are doing, or are the individual franchisees having to deal with all this?
No, and that's one significant thing that is an important message, that a franchisee does not have to know the cost categories in and out. We do all the analysis at our head office here. That's what probably about half of the people in our support team are analysts, and they are negotiating with those vendors. They're analyzing those bills and those contracts, putting all that information together so we can present it to a client with, their three best options, and then the client can choose. So that's what we're doing in all these different expense categories.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. What's your biggest area? So you have 13, or you're going to have 20 or whatever. What's like the top 20% that you're finding the most savings for clients?
Well, we started in telecom back 25 years ago, like I just said, and that's all we did for about 10 years. And it's a huge market on its own. Everybody has needs in the telecom arena, and it's really come a long way in terms of what it includes. When we first started, it was local service and long distance and maybe a few 12-pound cell phones, and that was about it.
Yep.
But now you got data, you got internet, you got wireless everything, cloud this and hosted that. That's all included in the telecom environment. So that's certainly one of them. But really, I don't think, between telecom, merchant services, so accepting credit cards, waste, and courier, there's much difference. They're all just as effective because different companies have different needs in those areas. I know software as a service is going to join the fray there, as is uniforms and linens, because that's really important to a lot of businesses. So really, it's right across the board in a lot of our cost categories.
Okay. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, even today, I know we were looking at our Comcast bill, and it was like, they're charging us for 5 seats, but we're only using 4. And then we have one phone, we have a loud ringer that they charge one price at one account and a lower price or a different price at a different one of our locations. And it's constantly changing, and I could see
now
it. So,
imagine a business with 20 employees or 50 employees or 500 employees. And are they really controlling all their software licenses? Are they paying for licenses for people that don't work there? Do they have too many features in the licenses they are paying for versus what's being used? And have they got the best prices? And that's what we do. We analyze it from all those standpoints.
Awesome. So then, so now let's go look at from the franchisee's perspective. So talk to me about what is the franchisee's role in going out and I assume in getting the clients like me or other business owners, but let's talk about from their perspective now.
Yeah. Now we do provide the ability, if anybody wants to do analysis, they can do that in the telecom. We teach them how to do that, but that's the only cost category where we'll allow that. The issue is only 8 out of 250 people actually do that because that's not where the money is. The money is in the relationships you build with your clients. So our franchisees are obtaining clients for sure, but then building really strong relationships with them, because many of the clients that we get come through referrals from our clients themselves. And so building that strong relationship, using our tools, presenting the reports when they're done. So it is a consultative business for sure. Now they're always going to have support when they present those reports, because if they get a question, they need to know the analyst's answer, not their own answer. All those things that develop a business and develop a long-term asset are what our franchisees are doing. They're just not having to tear through the bills and contracts. That's what we're doing. That's not where the money is. It's in relationships,
Okay. And then how does the franchisee make money? Walk me through their business model.
Yeah, well, our basic model is that we're going to share the savings with the client 50-50 for a 3-year period. So whatever recommendation we take forward to the client that gets implemented, we're going to get half those savings. After the 3-year period is over, the client gets all the savings. Now, we generally find more savings throughout the 3-year period as well, but the client never pays more than half for 3 years. So they get a big benefit, and our franchisee makes that money by sharing in those savings that we identify.
And were they looking at the bills on an ongoing basis? So they work with me, then they negotiate a better Comcast deal. They save me $5,000 a month or whatever. So they're earning 25. I'm saving 25, and then they're making 25, right? So we both win.
Now the franchisee isn't looking at those bills, but we are at our head office every month for the 3-year period.
So we're still submitting the bills to you, and if you see something rise that we didn't agree to, that 4 or 5 or whatever the different changes, you guys are at your office are then catching those costs?
Yeah, there's a number of reasons we do. We call them post audits, and we do them on every month's bills. And there's a number of reasons we do that. First of all, to catch what you said, are there any errors creeping into the bills or price creep where they're driving the by $1 or $2 a month, and all of a sudden it's a lot by the end of the year? We make sure none of that happens for our clients. But then we also review the client's business again, because sometimes things change in the business, which would mean a recommendation for a different plan than they're on now. So we're updating based on how they're doing business. But then we're also staying on top of the market. So, the special of the month that comes up, we know when that happens, and we can understand which clients that would apply to. So all of that is the reason for our ongoing reviews on a monthly basis.
What happens if I commit to paying the 50% savings or whatever, then costs creep up and it's whatever they claim it's within the contract, the provider, Comcast, whoever. Does that eat into what I'm having to pay, or are you guys fighting that back? What does that look like when there is that price creep?
Really, that can't happen because we've pretty much gotten a guarantee from that vendor for that period of time to stay at that price. So if the price goes up, we're calling them on it and we're getting it reversed and back to our client's bank account where it belongs.
And all that is done. We just upload bills to you guys, and your team takes care of that. It's not like me, the business owner, has to notify or get on the phone with Comcast or
No, not at all. Usually we just get the username and password from our client because it's not anything private. It's not their bank statement. It's just their FedEx bill, right? And then we download that into our tools and we go from there.
And then sending a report back to me every month to say, hey, it's all good, or hey, we found this, we're working on it. Is there some sort of two-way communication there?
Absolutely. In fact, that report, we go over that report. The main report's called the value report, when we show the client what changes would create big savings for them, and they can choose that. We go over that with the franchisee, and then we're there to go over it with the client as well. The post audits are also reviewed with the franchisee, and that also becomes the basis of the invoice to the client. So that's a monthly process.
How do you guys keep up with current employment? uniforms, for example, people are coming and going. Uniforms is a huge pain. If I could never talk about uniforms again, we'd be pretty happy. So
Brian, how do you deal with? That's what Schooley Mitchell's for.
Yeah, well, so sell me on it. How do you know? Do we give you the employee list? Same. I'm sure it's the same with software user seats and stuff.
That's what we do. We review what you're doing, what you're using, what your options are, but then we understand what all the vendors' options are too, and how we can negotiate a better term. Maybe there's minimums involved that you're paying more than you should be based on the usage of those uniforms, or maybe there are repairs or washing that's taking place on the schedule you want, or maybe not on the schedule you want. Sometimes those things get out of your psyche and you're not paying attention to that, and the vendor's driving that up. And that's what we make sure. It's what you want.
Yep.
And the quality you want and the schedule.
A lot of times for us, it's we'll get an employee on it, then he leaves, and then we're continuing to pay uniforms for that person, and then we have to try to send them back and get credit and but your team would know or ask for give me the current roster or whatever.
That's right. That's right. We would match users to the purchases, and we would make sure that see, a lot of times those companies will have minimums where they're sending you a certain amount and it's more than you really need, but you don't realize it because people are going in and using those uniforms and you just don't realize it, but you've just paid more than you should. So, we look at that too.
And is a lot of it automated for you? That whole process on the back end, or is it pretty manual?
We certainly have automated tools. Absolutely. We've actually got 9 programmers as full-time employees. So obviously we're improving our systems and tools all the time, but there is a subjective part to this. You can't just automate these kinds of decisions. There's discussions with the client and understanding what you're doing now, what you'd be doing 6 months from now, and what you've done in the past. That's going to make for the best results. So there's a combination of automation as well as expertise.
Okay. And then my understanding for the franchisee is his role is really a sales relationship role, right? He's out there building relationships, getting clients, but then he's the people person, right? And then all the admin, all the detail work is then done by you guys at corporate, and he's paying, for that analysis, right?
That's right. I don't want to make it sound like it's just a glorified sales job. That is certainly a part of it, acquiring clients. And it's very much like an accounting firm or a law firm, and nobody thinks of them as salespeople, but you have to obtain clients in order to run a good professional business. But they're also building an asset. We actually had one sell for $4.5 million just a year and a half ago. So, it's much more than that. And it's consultative in the sense that those reports are being presented to the client with explanation. And so that franchisee becomes that resource for the client. It's just we're the ones doing all the nitty gritty work. They don't have to do that. But,
okay.
Yep.
So then I guess why go a franchise model versus building out a corporate team?
Yeah, and I mean, that was a pretty intense decision-making process back 25 years ago. But, we, as I said, I became familiar with franchising because of one of our clients. And I just thought that, we don't want to hire people and fire people and motivate people across 2 countries to build what we want to build. We'd rather have a franchise model where we build a great system, distribute that information through databases and training and things like that, and have the franchisee earn the bulk of it and pay us a small share for developing the system. We just thought, that's a better model. And, franchising is all about, penetration and domination of a marketplace. And we just felt that was a better model to do that. And we've never regretted that decision.
Okay. What's it cost to start a Schooley Mitchell up?
$68,000 is the franchise fee right now. Really not much other cost. I mean, even though we're a cost control business, it's not a cost control franchise. There's maybe $700 or $800 worth of letterheads and envelopes and marketing kits that'll do you your first year. But beyond that, there's really not much cost to running this because it's mostly a home-based business. I mean, some people get a small office, but most people run from home. You're going to have things like gas and lunches and stuff like that. But
operating expenses. But to start it off, there's no real estate, there's no signage. I mean,
nothing.
70 grand-ish, and they're up and rolling.
They're all in under 70. Yep, that's right.
And then I don't know how much of your item 19 numbers but like talk to me about some of the performance. Like what are some of these guys do in terms of sales or gross profit? Whatever you can
and I always say to people, and I have to be careful how I say this, but I always say we've got people that make more than $1 million a year here net. We really do. But in the same breath, I'm going to tell you we have people that make nothing because they don't work at it.
Yep.
And so it's a matter of taking the training, taking the systems, looking at the huge marketplace in front of you and executing it. And so if you do that, you can be very successful. I mean, our item 19, I think our average in our top 25% is over 800,000 or, just a little bit more than that. So our numbers are very good for those people that want to put in the effort. If you don't put in an effort, nothing's going to happen. Nobody's going to knock on your door and ask for cost reduction consulting. So it's not that kind of business.
Yeah, it's a go out and you eat what you kill, right? You go out and hustle and you earn it. Yeah, I mean,
you're going to be active. You're going to be active. Now, we've got a lot of really great ways to build the business, but if you don't do any of it, you're not going to get clients.
Yeah, people aren't. It's all B2B, right? I mean, you go out and you're building relationships, you're connecting with people, getting referrals. Yeah, your average.
Not B2C. We're not dealing with residential.
Yep. Yeah, in the item 19, the highest secured revenue, $3.1 million on a $68,000 investment, right?
Well, that's the thing, you can change your life with under 70 grand if you're willing to put in that regular work week. And I always say to people, if you're willing to work 35 hours a week, you can't fail at this business. And there's reasons for that. But if you work 2 hours a week, you don't have a chance. So that's really it. The things we look for are people that are comfortable talking to other business people. As long as you've got that, we're going to teach you everything from there and willing to work a regular work week. That's it. That's the only test.
Doesn't sound too unreasonable.
No.
Do the big ones build teams?
Some do and some don't. I mean, even in our top quartile, I'd say it's probably 50-50. Some work on their own. See, we have a leverage model built right into the model because we do all the work. So anybody that can acquire clients through referrals or paid referrals or networking, whatever they do to get those clients, you can fill the funnel as big as you want. And so there's a big leverage model even on your own.
And then
some people do add people.
And then once you get the client, then it's like you, the corporate, are the ones logging in, doing all the sending the reports. Like I would imagine the franchisee is more just the relationship, going back, checking in, make sure everything's good, fishing for new business, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
And continuing to kind of foster, and then he hands everything off, and then continues to go down the.
Yeah, but it is important that they present that value report to show the clients what we found and why, and that maybe once a year they go and present a post audit too to say this is what we're doing on an ongoing basis, taking care of you, because that's really important from a consultative standpoint, but also a relationship standpoint. That's what's going to get you more referrals and then renewals. Because see, our clients, they don't want to leave us after 3 years because they don't want to get back into the garbage business or the telecom business. They sell cars, they manufacture tables. So if we do a good job, we've got franchisees that have clients 8, 10, 12 years.
Yeah. Who are some of the, talking about the range of revenue of clients that your franchisees are working with? Like what's a small end client and what are some of the biggest
Well, you're going to be surprised at this because we really have our service. So it's designed to help everybody. And I talk about everything from the hairdresser to Ford and Pepsi and Sony, and we've done everything in between. So it really is designed for the big companies because we become an ancillary resource for them without payroll. And then the little ones, nobody's helping them. They're completely overwhelmed by the vendors. So everybody in between.
Okay. So your franchisees have worked with like Fortune 500, like Ford, Pepsi, some of these companies?
Yep. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I imagine those too. Once you get in with those, you build those relationships. I imagine those, there's all these divisions, and like as long as you probably do what you say you're going to do.
And selling cycle because they've got so many committees and approvals and that. So, it can be frustrating, but yes, we absolutely worked with them. And when they realize we can help their procurement people, we've got special tools, no matter who they are, no matter how big they are, they're still negotiating with their one invoice. We're negotiating with more than 28,000 invoices. That's a whole different scenario, right? So we become a complement to their existing people that manage these types of things.
Yep. That's awesome. So then how does it become sellable if it's highly based on that person? Like, so what's because how do they create a sellable? How did that person create a $4.2 million business?
It was 4.5, just to
4.5.
Let's not downgrade that. But see, every client is an annuity. It has a future cash flow attached to it. So it's really a present value of future cash flow calculation. We actually have a tool that we provide to all of our franchisees so they can calculate the value of their business at any point. See, if they get a client, the example I always use, let's say you save somebody $2,000 a month. Well, that means you're going to bill them $1,000 a month for 36 months.
Yep.
And let's say you want to sell it 6 months in. Well, there's still $30,000 to come on that client. Well, somebody's going to buy that cash flow as well as that client relationship. Okay, so if you've got a whole list of clients, all with different levels of cash flow, then that's a calculable number. We've got some other things that go into that too, like renewals and referrals and supplemental recommendations that increase that value. But that's basically what it is every client I get, it's got a future value.
What is it? Can you say what it roughly on a multiple basis?
It doesn't quite work that way. It's more of a present value calculation on a discounted cash flow basis.
Okay. Yeah.
But it does work out. I mean, there's a lot of ways to value a business. There's the fixed asset. There's the, like you just said, the multiple. There's all kind of net worth of there's all kinds of ways. So this is one way that businesses should always look at. This is just the primary way for us because of the nature of our business.
Because you have locked in contractual revenue.
That's right. It's all in a contract.
Yep. Okay. Talk to me a little bit more about the lead generation. So I'm a new franchisee. Like maybe talk me through kind of what training elements or how are you helping me go out and find clients? Yeah,
I mean, it is, like I said, like an accounting business or a law business, except we just do it better because we're a sales-focused business. And, if you think of any of those professional people, they will tell you they got referrals from their clients to build their business. And that was absolutely true when I was in the accounting world. But yet it's a slow, methodical process because you can only refer to an accountant when someone needs an accountant, for example. But see, with Schooley Mitchell, everybody needs what we do. They don't know it. They've never heard of us, but everybody needs what we do. So even when a franchisee gets one client, we have a concept here we call the shining star. And what that means is that client can refer you out in 5 different ways. Kind of like we draw a star here on Earth with 5 prongs. So they can refer you to their neighbors because, see, none of their neighbors have a cost reduction consultant and we don't charge money. So it's very easy for a client to say, yeah, go talk to Jones Plumbing Supply across the street. I'll introduce you. But then they can refer to their vendors, to their customers, to the people they network with, and personal contacts. So one client, that's where the exponential growth comes from.
And then each one of those is another 5, and you start playing that game. Okay.
There you go. But then we also set up paid referral relationships with people where we will share part of what we earn with the people that get us in the door. That's a very lucrative way for our franchisees to build clientele, and I could talk about that forever. But then we also build relationships with professionals because if you can imagine, let's use an accountant again as an example. If the accountant understands how you're going to make them look good by saving their clients money, then they can be the source of multiple referrals for you as well. And then networking strategies are really strong for us too. It's not like you go into the chamber and just hoping. Nobody in that chamber has a cost reduction consultant. Neither does anybody they know or a BNI or any other networking group. So we're very effective at passing this training, these methods, and these tactics along with our franchisees. They just have to do it.
Yep. And then you have a pretty strong internal CRM so they can track that person and the star or whatever. Are we getting referrals? If not, can we go and work that person?
We do. And actually it's our own code. We wrote it ourselves. So it's not salesforce.com, customized. It's our code written by our programmers, the way that we do business. But yeah, we absolutely have that. Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And what are your guys' fees? What do you charge franchisees?
Oh, us? Okay.
Yeah.
Our royalty is 8%.
Yep.
Although we do have a royalty holiday for the first 12 months. Any new franchisee doesn't pay royalties for their first 12 months. We've extended that right on to into 2024. We started doing that at the beginning of the pandemic because we're just trying to help people get off the ground better in a bad time. Well, we've just kept doing it. So there's that. Then our marketing fee is 2%.
Yep.
So we've got a marketing team of 12 or 14 people, and they're paid through that fund. So 10% comes to us, and then 25% comes to us for doing all the work throughout that 3-year period. So that's how we pay our staff.
That's the analysis side of it.
Yep.
Got it. So 35% of revenue, and then the franchisee gets 65%.
That's right.
Of
this is all based on the half the franchisee earns. So basically what it is, it's a 65% margin business is what it is. And I always say you can't sell Big Macs if you don't buy hamburgers. So somebody's got to do the work.
Yep. Yeah. So. Yeah, and then they don't have much expenses after that, right? I mean, it's whatever personal expenses they want to run the business, but if they build a team or they hire somebody to help them with lead gen or whatever, but it's all from home, and that's what's really attractive is they really build the business on a recurring revenue. I mean, they keep a huge portion of it.
They do, and most people will, when they do hire people, will hire them on a subcontract basis, so it's not a direct employment
it's more
cost. So
referral-based.
They're still maintaining that 65% margin less their admin costs.
Yep. Do franchisees have territories, or because they can go over the country, right? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, no, that's another one that's sort of unique with us. That characteristic is that we don't have territories. Franchisees can get clients anywhere they want in the United States or Canada. So it's, wide open. Now, we do protect them. We have a registry system that protects their clients and a certain level of prospects so that everybody knows their business is protected, and yet they're not limited to a hunk of land, a zip code or a county or something. They can really get whatever opportunity is there in front of them.
Protected again. So if I'm working with one Schooley Mitchell consultant, another one can't help me.
That's right. Once somebody has signed a client, it goes on to what we call the permanent registry. And that's really important for 3 aspects, because that means only that one franchisee can use that client. So it protects their revenue stream. It means we don't look unprofessional knocking heads and bidding against each other. And it protects that asset we talked about earlier, as you're building it up. And then we have what we call a temporary registry, which protects prospects up to a certain limit. So it works the same way.
Okay. And I know in your franchise agreement, you have something about like a multi-unit development, someone could have, I don't know, up to 10 offices. Like, so why would someone do that, I guess, is my main question.
Well, the reason is because the one thing we restrict for a franchisee, they can get clients, let's say they're in Detroit.
Yep.
Okay. They can get clients anywhere they want. But if they want to hire people or they want to do direct marketing programs like, a telemarketing campaign or something, they can only do that within the Detroit area and all the counties that touch Detroit. They can't go hire somebody in Denver or Orlando. So what we call a developer franchise, if somebody wants to build a really big business and manage people, then they can do what we do in 10 cities at once. So they can hire and direct market and all that kind of stuff.
Okay, so it's direct marketing through whether it's mail, phone calls, digital,
email campaigns, telemarketing, whatever it might be, or put a billboard up. You can't do that outside your own area. Now, the areas are big, so there's lots of room for everybody to make as much money as they possibly could. And it doesn't limit anybody from, they got a summer home in Florida, go get clients, or an alumni in Denver, or
so it's for marketing. It's outbound. It's like that outbound marketing.
That's right. That's the only thing we restrict, because we don't want somebody, in New York with deep pockets hiring somebody all across the country. That defeats our model. So we need to restrict that.
Gotcha.
But
Okay.
The developer allows someone to do that in 10 markets simultaneously.
Okay. And then, so in Detroit, do you limit the number of franchisees you have then in the Detroit market?
Yeah. And we do that. We have a footprint, for both countries. It was devised when we just did Telecom, and really the basic footprint is we will never put more than one franchise for every 200,000 people. We know that's more market than anybody could ever satisfy in the next 100 years, but we still have that same footprint even though we have 15 expense categories. So there's more business than we could ever do.
Yep. What's one of the biggest challenges your business is facing these days?
We don't really have a challenge other than people being motivated to do it. I mean, we got people so successful in changing their lives, and then we've got people that are not. That's really the only challenge we have. It's not the market, it's not competition, it's not the economy. All of that's in our favor.
It's motivating certain franchisees to do the work.
That's it.
Why do you think they don't do it? Is it like their expectation? They thought it'd be easier. They thought it was like, 68,000. It's like one of the lowest cost franchises that it'd just be, I just write this check and just business comes. Like, what do you think?
Well, I'll tell you what it boils down to, Brian. It's the Pareto rule. Okay. That's the 80-20 rule.
Yep.
And I always say to people, I wish Pareto was still alive because I want to talk to him. I'm trying to make it the Schooley rule and it's not catching on. But anyway, I absolutely agree with Pareto when he said the top 20% in any business like ours, which is based on client acquisition or any sales force, they kill it. They basically make 80% of the money and the rest share the rest. That's his theorem. Yep. But what he didn't address was the bottom 20%. They don't do anything. And every time I explain this to a business owner like ours, like in a business like ours, and I don't mean cost reduction, I mean anything that's based on client, or a sales manager, and I tell them the real model is 20, 60, 20. 20% kill it, 60% are lifestyle driven.
Yep.
They make what they want and they stay there, and then 20% are dogs. We try to help everybody, but I'm telling you, after 25 years, I keep seeing it year after year. And frankly, I say to people, if anybody in a business like ours doesn't say it's 20, 60, 20, they're lying to you. They just are, because it always is.
Yep.
Now, it's strange in a franchise because they invested.
Yeah, I know.
It holds true.
What are you doing these days to try to filter out and find the top 20% and avoid the bottom 20%?
Yeah, I wish that was a pure science. It's an art. I think we're pretty good at it, and certainly we make it very clear to every candidate this is what's required. One of the things that causes this demotivation, I guess, Brian, is the fact that people get no. Some people understand that's just part of the linear formula. You got to get no's to get yeses, and if they understand that, they're going to keep going and get yeses. The ones that find a no to be, I'm going to crawl under my bed because somebody said no to me, that's a problem. We can't identify that. We make it clear to everybody before anybody ever joins, 10 times, in fact. But
once you're living it, they got to be able to good with that. They got to be ideally in a role probably prior to this where they got a ton of rejection, right? Like I'd imagine someone in a B2B role and selling software or whatever going into this, they should be familiar, right?
For 100%, any salesperson gets that. But we've got a lot of other really successful franchisees that never had a sales background at all, but they still understand how strong relationships are a brick building process that end up in big results. And so as long as they just keep doing what we do, which is kind of fun anyway, then they're going to be successful. It's when they stop doing it, nothing happens.
Yep. You familiar with the book Go for No?
I have read the book twice.
Okay. Yeah, I had the author, I think her name's Andrea, on my podcast, I don't know, last year sometime. And it's a great book. We talk about with our guys too. And our we have 60 something salespeople that work for us selling auto repair. And it's the same thing. They get rejection, and how do you deal with it? And now, for days we had Go for No, and it was like, we want to get 10 no's on financing or brakes or whatever we're working on selling, right? It's all part of how you get to a yes.
I was a manager in a baseball league for a long time, a semi-pro baseball league for a night player. But what I'm saying here is it had to do with whenever I went out to that mound, if that pitcher was worried about the home run that just went over the wall and woe is me, he's out of the game.
Yep.
But if that pitcher's got some fire and he knows he can't bring the ball back, I can't change it, and his vision is the next pitch matters, that's what matters. Well, it's the same thing in sales. Next matters, not what just happened.
Yep. And you got to keep going for those no's, and we count it one no, it's closer to yes, right? And I think that's...
Well, the book is actually kind of funny because in that parable, the guy got his quota in the first morning and then went golfing the rest of the week, right? That's the Go for No.
I know. I think it's funny. It's true though too. I mean, it's all about the mindset. Awesome, cool. I appreciate you coming on. I think that's all the questions I had today. I think did a great job, kind of educating me, kind of the audience here about Schooley Mitchell, and I think really trying to identify that right person, relationship building, B2B, very driven, self motivator, goes for no, and like for a little bit of money, you can start a business that can make you potentially a lot of money if you put the work in. So, cool. If anybody's interested in learning more about Schooley Mitchell, shoot me a message and I'll happy to connect you to Dennis's team and they can take you through the process and see if it's a good fit for you. So
Well, that sounds great, Brian. Thank you so much for having me. And like I said, I'll talk your ear off anytime you want me to.
All right. Thanks, Dennis.
That's all we got for this episode with the Business with Beers podcast. One thing that would really help both us and other new potential listeners is to rate the show and leave a comment in iTunes, Stitcher, wherever you listen. Also, make sure to link up with me on your preferred social media platforms, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. You can find all my links at brianbeers.com. Please just share the podcast with anyone who you think might enjoy it. And until next time, remember to take the actions others won't, to live the life that others don't.